Welcome back to the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. We are on episode 41, Bert? 41. And we took a trip for this one, and honestly, it's going to be well worth it. I know it, but today we're in New Braunfels with the boy Xavier the second. What's going on, dude?
What's up?
What's going on? How's your day going so far?
It's going great. It's been kind of a long day, but man, this is all worth it.
I heard, yeah. little few setbacks today, but we're here. We made it, and I'm glad. Dude, we're just diving right into this, man. I'm excited as hell. I personally was looking forward to this because I got to see you for the first time at your headlining gig at the Post. And correct me if I'm wrong, was that like the first headlining gig, or was that?
Yeah, technically it was the first headlining gig ever. Yeah.
How did that feel? It looked amazing,
bro. It felt crazy. It felt amazing, man. It felt dope. It was super cool to. Because usually the shows I've done in the past, which, we've done a few, we've been around, but it's always like someone else is, it's someone else's gig, and they're kind of like, hey, they hit me up, hey, could y'all do a set? Can you do 40 minutes? Can you do 20 minutes? And then we always just tag along. So gotcha. I've never had to deal with the venue or the promoters. Mm-hmm. I've never had to deal with the ticket sales or, I've never had to worry about that. And so this one being our night, our show, us working with y'all and us working with the Post and, pushing the tickets, and it was just fun. I loved all of it. Having our support system plus the dope acts that, that we got for the night. I loved it. It was all just super dope. The crowd was dope. The energy was amazing. The
energy was crazy during your set. Like luckily, I felt like throughout the entire night, the energy kept up, I love that there was a crowd the entire night, and then when you guys set up, the crowd just went wow, because everyone was sitting down technically, and until you guys went on, and I was like, nah, we ain't doing this like this, y'all coming up, but I feel like that's what they were waiting for. They were waiting for that push to be all right, let's go in there. And once everybody got huddled up, that place was packed, going crazy.
Yeah, bro, it was just the energy's different when they're right in front of you. You know what I mean? All of them in front of me, the energy is just reciprocated. I'm giving to them. They take it, they give it back, and and we just bounce off of each other, and it just elevates. With the live band and everything, bro, it's hard not to, especially with my band members, man. Just props to them. I want to give them their flowers. Graham on the keys, Danny on the drums, and Chief Kev on the bass. They're really people go to see them, you know what I mean? Just as much as they go to hear my songs or my music, it's them. I grew up with Kev and Danny, obviously he's my brother, and Graham, I've known him for years, and we just have a chemistry, and when it's their time to shine, or when they're in the zone, bro, they're just, they're a treat to look at, you know what I mean? They're to look at, to experience the relationship, to witness them and what they do with their respective instruments. Bro, it's just they're just amazing, bro.
So honestly, I was taken by surprise by that, because I the only thing I knew of you was your discography. So I was listening to it and everything. I'm okay. And the thing I was I think I know how this is gonna sound. And then I watched the show and listened to it. I had no clue that this is the way it was going. First of all, the live band took me by surprise, because I was oh, there's a whole when I first got there, I'm who's using all of that? And I was well, some of this is Born Out of Love stuff, but the rest of it is all for Xavier saying, I'm yo, what? And I'm okay. And then once I started seeing you on guitar and shredding, dude, first of all, I was dang, I was okay. He was he knows actually how to play.
Yeah,
you know what
bro. I mean, that's really my foundation to just instruments. You know what I mean? The guitar. Before I was a singer or a songwriter or a rapper, it was just me and the guitar.
So that's what you did first.
Yeah, that's the first thing I did. I did that, and in violin. So and then my brother, he plays cello. Really it was just instruments, bro. It was really just before I didn't start singing and rapping until I was about 15 years old. Okay. And then I started playing when I was 11 or 10 or 11. So I picked up a guitar. I got an orchestra in school, and I just love everything about it, bro. Anything, music down to the theory, the boring parts. To me, it was all just it would hype me up. Seeing the notes, seeing how everything connected, seeing the, how how I was learning violin, I was learning guitar at the same time, and when I would learn violin, I would connect it to something on the guitar, and I'd just be mind blown of how it's all connected. You know what I mean? Like the music world and the language of music and the notes and the theory. Like, and then I went to college for a couple years. That's where I went Graham, and there I took theory classes and yeah, bro. I just that's the foundation. So I always have to bring it and implement it some way into, you know,
which I'm sure you've seen it like help out like your trajectory already, and being like, you have like from what I'm hearing, you have like a really solid foundation into like then going on and actually like creating the music that you want to do. But you have like a good like, you know, foundation of like the basics, and then how to translate stuff between like, because playing guitar and playing violin, you know, don't necessarily like, depending on what type of, because on the band you play like electric guitar and then like violin, two different like sounds definitely, and maybe two different worlds. Although you know, I've seen them be combined in like certain bands, you know. And it's kind of cool to see that, but yeah, that was honestly like made my night, dude. Like it was such a good time, such a good experience, being able to hear the songs both the way they're performed like on record, and then hearing like the version of like a live version with the live band was like, I go, man, that's the same song, but like it adds a whole different like dynamic.
And that's what
we
try. That's what we really push for. That's the goal, because you know, like I love being in the studio. I love working. The music I love, I mean, it's hip hop, it's R&B. I love that shit. Like that's, you know, I love it. But at the same time, like performing live, I've noticed how, you know, when it's like seeing a concert, like I don't want to just a DJ press and play on a song and then me rapping over my song or screaming over my song. You know, when, you know, with all due respect, like, but that's just not my thing, and that's where I see most people do. Yeah. Even concerts now that I like, you know, artists that I like that I've gone to, like, I've always feel like they kind of, that's kind of like the easy way out, like, just because they're literally just pressing play on the song and then screaming over the lyrics. And it's dope if, you know, if the I guess the point, or if the goal is to get everyone, you know, jumping and get everyone hype and get everyone, you know, mosh pits, you know, all that is dope. It's cool if you like that. But me, I'm a little bit more chill, you know. I'm a little bit more like, I love chords. I love chord progressions. I love spontaneous jam sessions. I love, but I also love rap, and I love flows, and I love melodies. So, you know, I just find a way to mix everything all in one.
And honestly, like from what I like can hear from that, it's also just adding a level of authenticity, because that's where you come from. You know what I mean? Like that's what you grew up learning. So you incorporating into like the hip hop music and R&B music that you make is just like a natural progression for you. Like why wouldn't it be in that? You know what I mean? When you've like used this the entire time, like growing up and learning how to do music, like why wouldn't you incorporate it? And you get to do both. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I mean, I love rapping. I love singing, but I also, you know, I have to have a guitar in front of me, or I feel weird. You know what I mean? I feel weird. I wouldn't know what to do with my hands.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I love like a guitar in front of me. You know, I look behind me and my brother's on the drums. That's my comfort zone. You know what I mean? That's my safe place. I've always, I guess, because I mean, we're doing it when we were kids. You know, in 12, I was like 11. Danny was like 9. And now I'm 25. He's 23 or 22, and that's just our comfort zone. So, you know, being on a stage, if I know I'm gonna have to entertain people or like perform, the best way I know how to do that is with a guitar, a mic, and a drum set. You know what I mean? Then everything else is extra. So
well, that's cool, because you were telling me that like before this, that your brother is kind of like your main producer. Like
he's my main producer. All my best songs is him behind on the beats, or just even more than just the beats. You know, he really produces he really understands like, or where do we want to go with the song, and he understands how to get there from point A to point B. He knows how to get there in between, and he's my brother, so our chemistry is there.
So that's what so that was where I was going, like chemistry and like bands and like which is normally what I talk to like with solo artists and people like with bands is like, oh, as a solo artist, like you have to worry about yourself and you don't have to really worry. But like bands, you have to have a like decent chemistry between like members or people who are writing the music, and then that being your brother someone that you grew up like learning how to play like these instruments. Like you guys understand each other, like how to talk. Like I'm sure like an idea that you have that you're like, I kind of want it to go this way and can't describe it. I'm sure like he's like, oh, I know what you're talking about, kind of thing. Like
bro,
from one
exactly.
of the next.
Exactly, it's exactly like that. And even Chief Kev, shout out Chief Kev. He's a bass player. Like he's been also he played with us since we were like 12, 13 as well. So he gets that chemistry as well. But exactly that. Like if I have an idea, I just have to look at Danny and be like, bro, can you do something random as fuck? And he'll know exactly what I'm talking about because he just knows how I think. He knows what I'm saying. The chemistry's there. No, chemistry is super important. Like I said, like with the band, like I write the songs. I'm kind of leading the boat, steering even in the studio with Danny, hey, I want this, I want that. And he respects it. And I respect his opinion too. If he gives no, I want to take it here. Or what if you did this? He pushes me creatively. But the band, they're just like, they bring it to life. You know what I mean? Like I may have the ideas or some ideas or the direction, but they're the ones that, to me, they're like the important part. So, yeah, shout out to them again. Like I can't. Yeah, the show wouldn't be what it is without them, and that's what we're trying to do. Every show, if people are buying tickets, if people are showing up, if people are getting babysitters or whatever, if they're going, like I'm trying to, with the resources I have, I'm trying to give the best product I can. You know what I mean? I'm trying to deliver the best show I could possibly give.
That's an important attitude to have as an artist, because you're right. Like when people go to a show, they are giving up the most valuable commodity they have, which is their time. Right. It's like, you know what, you could be doing anything else right now. Like even if you wanted to do nothing, you could be doing nothing if you wanted to be out somewhere else. But they take the time out and they come see, an artist. And I'm sure you've had your own instances. I know I personally have had, when I go and I see an artist and then like I can see them like not wanting to be there or half-assing it, or like, hey man, I'm one of 5 people who came to see you and you're playing, not your best because, you're mad that you don't have a crowd. And then one thing I learned when I was playing a band is like, it doesn't matter. There could be 2 people, there could be 20, 200. You got to deliver the same show. Because those 2 people go on, like if they love what they saw, they'll go on and like tell more people about you. They'll bring their friends next time, which is what you're looking for. You're looking for this longevity. You're looking to stick around, not to just like, oh, I played tonight and there was 2 people there and you're over with. No, you hopefully make an impact and like spread that around to more people and have, create a lasting, like, well, they'll go home and stream. Well, they'll go, to your merch table and talk to you, buy something and keep supporting. And that's the important part. Like if you don't deliver 100% or, what, as much as you can, like that night, like that's what they're going to remember. Yeah.
I guess the struggle is the balance between, doing it for the love of the music, when it's me on stage, like I forget about everything. Like if I'm stressing about, setting up this or the tickets or once I'm on the stage, once it's showtime, I don't think about anything else. Like that's like I'm not nervous. I'm not scared. I'm just like, I'm in the zone. And so it's that, like it could be 1 person, 2 people, or 20,000. Like I feel like I will still perform the same. And that's what I tell the band all the time. It doesn't matter who's out there. Like we're gonna do what we do. We're gonna do what we do, and it's having a good time. It's having fun. Trying to just make the best music we can. But at the same time, it's respecting the audience that's there, and also thinking about I want them to remember me. I mean, I want to stand out. If whoever, I'm kind of competitive too. So, straight up. So like if there's other artists there, like I want to be the one that stands out. I want to be the one that, with all due respect, but I'm trying to stand out. I'm trying to leave an impression on these people, that anybody that's there, the bartenders, the promoters, the audience, the fans, like anybody. So So it's trying to find the balance between
yeah, and I don't know if it's something as I've gotten older, but I've started to notice a lot more. I started to pay attention more to chemistry and people having fun doing what they're doing.
Right.
I stopped paying attention more to like, oh, did they play everything exactly the way it needed to play, and more like, did they look like they enjoyed? Like, because if you're up there having fun and jumping around and performing whatever you want to do, and I can tell that like you're having the time of your life, like it makes me want to like equally match you. Like they're having a good time, like I want to do, like have a good time, and like it just reciprocates, and that energy flow back from like you to the audience back to you, it just feeds throughout the whole set. You know what I mean? And I definitely know, like in the past show, the post, like that's what I definitely saw, like from like you and the crowd, like you getting hype made the crowd just as hype, and it just kept like reciprocating back and forth.
Yeah, bro. I mean, that's just how it goes, and that night was just special too. Like the crowd was on a different level than I've ever experienced before. Like,
because you gotta stay there late too, no? Like afterwards and like party.
And I guess we had the advantage because my homie was the DJ too. Like that's I lived with him before. Like that's my brother. Yeah. Shout out DJ Roy. That's my brother. And so after we hyped everyone up and the energy was there, I told Roy before the set, right before the set, I said, bro, as soon as I'm done, turn it up. Like, play Bad Bunny, play the hits, play everything.
That's guaranteed. That's right there.
Because we're going to keep it going. And then that's, again, like, we're just trying to have a good time, make sure everyone's having a good time. And, we have a responsibility that night, if we're headlining, if we're in charge of something that night and the people are buying tickets or, pulling up, or if they're curious, like, we want them to have a great night. And that's all that matters. I think.
That's good, man. And that's, like I said, I'm glad that's like kind of like the way you see it as far as like performing live. As far as like writing like music, what do you feel is like your purpose for like doing that?
Well, when I write, my mindset when I'm writing music, it really varies. I mean, it goes from, it just depends what I'm feeling, that night or that day or what I've been feeling in that time. And really, I mean, it's hard to explain, but I really try to make music without limits. I mean, everyone says that, but I don't want to be put in a box. Like I want to make music. Like if I'm feeling good and I'm feeling happy, or I'm feeling like I want to have a good time, I want a song that represents having a good time, and I don't think about nothing else. Like what beat can we make? What music can we play that makes people that connects, that sounds like what I'm feeling. You know what I mean? I want it to sound like what a feeling feels like. So if it's happy, I want it to be happy. If it's motivational, I want people to put it on while they're playing, while they're working out. If it's something sad, I want people to feel sad. If it's something, like everything in between. So I pride myself in that, and I feel like I do. And I get a lot of pushback almost because of that. Because a lot of people, they hear my discography, and a lot of them, I've gotten a lot of people tell me, like, they say it's kind of like all over the place.
Okay.
They say that to me, or it's kind of like, I don't know where to put you. I don't know what are you R&B, or are you trap, or are you hip hop, are you rap, or what? Like, I don't know. Yeah. But they're saying it like kind of like
in a negative tone.
In a negative tone. And to me, it's like, bro, that's exactly what I want to hear. Like, that's exactly what I am. Because also we're all layered individuals. I mean, we're all not just one thing. We're not just all one feeling. We're not just all one belief. Yeah. So why should music be that? I mean, if you're an artist, or like me, I think of my role as an artist and my role to making art and to bringing it to this world and giving it away. Like, I want it to be for everybody. You know, I don't want it to be just for the sad people or the happy people or the Christians or the atheists or it doesn't matter, or the right or the left. Like, it doesn't matter what you are. Like, we've all felt all of these things, before. Yeah. So that's what I'm making music for everybody. And
human emotion is like everyone's experience, like what a type of the way that you're feeling now. So like one thing I've experienced in, like, especially like writing music as of late, is it allows me to actually fully express that emotion and kind of let it go. So if I want to write something sad, I'll write something sad, and I'll like listen to them like, you know, like, yeah, I was going through something or whatever, but like I don't have to stay there. You know what I mean? Which again, with writing music, is like, yeah, I can't write the same song over and over. They're not all gonna be sad. You know what I mean? Like if I write one that's completely different, I mean, you go from something like like in your like example, like a stuff that I've heard like, you know, like Scarred Knees versus like, you know, Big Bang. You know what I mean? It's two different moods, but they're both good songs. It just depends on which one you're in. You know what I mean? And you can be in both. You know, you can be in. Sometimes you feel like this, and sometimes you feel like that. And I feel like I enjoy that out of like artists, because there's more than one thing I can expect. I will be surprised. You know what I mean? I feel like. And I keep referring to like when I was younger, I definitely would be a little more elitist when it came to music. And I'm like, no, this has to sound like this. This has to sound like this. And the more I've grown, I'm like, dude, I just want to hear good songs. Whatever they come in. And being feeling like being an artist myself, I'm like, I can't write the same song over and over. That's boring.
It gets boring.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like people like want that. I'm like, do you really? Like, do you understand what that is for me? Like, it's boring. You know what I mean? Because you don't stay in that state. You know? And you see. I feel like you see it a lot more in like even mainstream like artists now, where they're like sound like something one time and they'll sound like something the next, because it's like whatever they want to write kind of like goes.
Obviously, like, I just look up, I get inspiration, and obviously the Mount Rushmore of rapper from my generation, which is like the Drakes, the Coles, the Kendricks, Mac Miller, you know, like and it's because when they dropped a project or a song, you didn't know what you were going to get. You know what I mean? Every time was something different. You know, with all due respect, but with like people like a Rick Ross. I love Rick Ross. I love him. He's dope. But when he drops a song or a project, we know what it's going to sound like. We know what it's going to be. You know, it's going to be a Rick Ross song. You know what I mean? So, you know, and you know, if that's your thing, cool. You know, if you find something good and you stick with it and that's what you can do it. But you know, I aspire to be an artist at the level of like, I mean, it sounds silly to say, but in my head, it's like the Drakes, the Coles, the Kendricks, the Mac Millers, because I want to be just an artist, you know, at its purest form. Like, drop something, whatever I feel, and the fans that pick up on it, they know what it is. Oh, that's just how he was feeling that day, or that's what he wanted to hear himself. You know what I mean? Like, So yeah, it's just I
feel like the more true you are to yourself and what you want to write, the more it's going to be difficult for people to fight you back on what you're doing, because like it's in its truest form, your art. You know what I mean? Like when you talk about like stuff like, you know, Kendrick, and even like I like with Drake, like sure, like I have stuff like I don't like this, but it's different. Like it's not what I was expecting a lot of the times, you know what I mean? And then sometimes people are like, oh, this is kind of what I was expecting, and they're disappointed. Where so people pushing like boundaries and doing stuff different, and then you start to notice like you really realize when like a label has a lot of control over like an artist, which like that started baffling me. Like when I started looking at stuff like that, where I'm like, man, like there's these like big artists who are writing songs that like they are getting, you know, I think the first time I really like saw and experienced it was I think when Lupe Fiasco made Lasers, when I was like how much like he hated that album and stuff like that, and I'm like, whoa, like so they can make you put out an album even if you don't want to do that. I'm like, and it started looking more into that. So having artists that like aren't afraid to push it past like something where you think it's weird or you think it's like strange or not what you were expecting, not what you were used to, and then later on coming back and really being appreciative of it and being like, oh, like I'm glad that they like did that, you know what I mean? Because it brings another level, and then once they do that, like it brings everybody else to try to like do something different or level up and do something.
And I think that's like the main artist that does that gets a lot of shit for it, but it's like Kanye. Like he really doesn't care what anyone thinks. He's gonna make what he wants, and he's kind of like the, you know, love it or hate it. Like he's not afraid to try new things. And that's why you see it a lot where he'll drop something, it gets a bunch of hate, but then 3 years later, everyone's doing the same. Everyone's doing what he did. Something he did 3 years ago, and yeah, I look up to that, and I aspire to be like that or have that energy or that mindset because you know what I mean, I'd rather be true to, you know, myself or what I think or what I feel, or what I feel is good. And be happy with it, than try to, you know, please somebody or a voice, or even close people like my friends or my family, or, you know what I mean, I might do something here or say something here, and I always expect I didn't really like that song, or I didn't really think you should have done this or said this. Like, of course you didn't think I should have done that, you know, because it wasn't you, it's me.
It's me,
You know? And that's a problem I have. Well, it's not a problem, but, you know, I always, when I'm talking to other creatives or other artists, I always tell them, you know, be careful showing your art, you know, if it's music or photography or whatever it is, be careful who you're showing it to, because especially if it's another artist or another creative, because, you know, ego gets in the way, pride gets in the way, and a lot of, you know, I think that's something us as artists kind of, you know, even me, like, we deal with that, with something we struggle with, like if it's ego or pride, or because the first thing you show somebody, you know, especially if it's another artist, what they're gonna say is, or what they're gonna think is, I wouldn't have done it like that, or I wouldn't have done this, or I wouldn't have done that. And it's like, I know you wouldn't have done that. You know, I did it. You know, if it was your music or your project or your photo, you would have done something different. So I think as artists, we have to kind of respect that, or understand that that's not what I would do. Yeah. But of course, it's not what I would do. It's what he did, and it's what he wanted to do. It's what he felt was good. You know, and if I could help in the technical side of it, or if he asked for my 2 cents or something, then I'll give it, and maybe it'll help him.
So that's when it's different, yeah.
Right, that's when it's different. But, you know, viewing, it's kind of like growing up, you know, playing guitar or being like super musical or whatever, going to talent shows. I could never enjoy a talent show or enjoy any type of show because I was just sitting there critiquing like the guitarist or the drummer or something, and I would have been like, and then I would say things like, I wouldn't have done this, or if I had that song, I would have done this, and that just takes away from the moment and the experience and the beauty that comes with, you know, those kind of moments.
Which the fact, and then you should really look at it the opposite. It's like, I wouldn't have done that. Like, that means like someone out there has like a different creative process, which is why like stuff like I've been really talking up stuff like collaborations, like just even like sitting in on somebody's studio session, which I've done, and I've noticed the way people write is like, I've only seen writing music through the scope of me. You know what I mean? Like, this is how I write. This is how I approach writing a melody or a chorus or this and that. Right. And I'll go and stare at, you know, watch somebody else and be like, whoa, they wrote something completely different. And I don't think I could do that. Like, you know what I mean? I can't do that. But then you bring some of that back, maybe incorporate it into yours. But it's like this just collaborative effort, like sharing of ideas, stuff that if you close yourself off and only think about like, no, like, I can only write songs the way I write songs, then you'll never like be able to experience like other like types of like thinking and being able to evolve like your own sound. And the other thing, you just need to be careful who you're like showing your stuff to. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure like if I show someone my song and they immediately start, you know, critiquing it like that, if I don't care what you think, you know what I mean? If I was like, you know, I'm just showing you a song. I'm not asking you for all this, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to really keep that and hold that to like heart. But if I'm sure like you have like your set of like people that, you know, you can go to and be like, you know, if I want honesty on like certain things, like I'm gonna actually listen to you and take it from you and also believe you. You know what I mean? Because one thing I was talking, I had this band on here called Page's Turn, and we were talking. It's like, you gotta have that trusted friend, because also, like, what if you know not writing the best stuff like all the time and nobody tells you?
Or
you
you can be zoomed in too much. You know what I mean? Like, you need someone to kind of, you know, step back, someone that's not in it to tell you what it is. You know what I mean? And definitely. I mean, I have my close friends, or Danny. I have my brother, my own brother. He's been the main guy my whole life. You know, like, it has to be Danny approved almost. With everything I do. And it's because I trust his ear, I trust his judgment, and I know it's coming from love. And if he tells me, nah, bro, you kind of, this part sounded trash, or this part sounded corny, or this part sounded, like, he can say the worst things, and I'll be like, damn, that hurt. But you know, I trust you. You know what I mean? Because I have that trust in him. First as a brother, and then as a producer, and then as a, you know, as an artist as well. So, and then I have my friends, also close friends that I trust. But you learn who to tell, because also too, especially if you're just starting out. Like, let's say, you know, like a young dude that's just picking up his first mic and downloaded Logic for the first time, you know, got a YouTube beat, makes his first song, and then shows his older brother, and his brother's like, bro, that shit garbage, like, bro, that shit trash, you know, like, what is that gonna do to him? Of course it's trash. You know, it's his first song. It's his first song. But if he's not there if he's not confident in himself, or he could have just shut that dream or the potential he had just right then and there.
That could end an entire career and trajectory.
Because he wasn't sensitive to those feelings. So, any young artist or anybody that shows me anything, like, if they ask for my critique or my opinion, I'll be like, bro, it's, even if it's trash, sometimes, you got to tell them, like, okay, bro, like, it wasn't that great, but keep going. You know what I mean? Like, or, I try not to do this, try not to do that, but this right here, that's good. Like, lean on that, keep going on this. Like, bro, I mean, especially someone that aspires to be something is going to take steps. I mean, you have to go from A to Z and everything in between. You can't skip anything.
You can't just jump over. Yeah, and if you're going to, like, offer if a song you're listening to is bad, and it's like, okay, I bet if you tell them why you think it's bad,
right,
then that'll add a perspective to them. Maybe they still, like, are hard-headed and we're like, you know what, I still don't believe that person, but you add an extra perspective to it, which is something that I think people need to appreciate more, is the idea of somebody else perceives your idea or your song or your art or something as something different. That's one thing we were talking about on another podcast about art itself, like songs, photographs, paintings, anything you do. You might have an idea for this song, but once you, like, set it out into the world, like, you kind of lost control of what that song means. You know what I mean? Because it might mean, like, oh, this was an experience I had as a kid, with my brother and stuff like that. Someone over there is like, oh, this reminds me of an experience that I had with just one of my friends, or something completely different. And that's completely right, too, because that's their perception of it. But being able to offer the idea of, like, there's other people are going to think about the same idea, like, totally differently, and just be open, like, be constructive. Because you're right, like, if, let's say that, that one young artist was like, never mind, I'm just going to quit the whole music thing. Like, it was great because they went to somebody whose opinion they cared about, and they're like, shut it down right away. And it's like, okay, like, I'm just not going to do that anymore.
Right, exactly.
And, but you also need the people that tell you that, you're not doing as well. Because one thing, like, so Daniel, DJ, when I would record, like, vocals, like, there, because he'd do most of, like, our recording for, like, pre-pro and stuff like that. Yeah. I'd be singing the same lines, like, over and over and over. He's like, nope, that's not it. Like, because of this, like, try this on that. Not just like, that sucked. Yeah. Do it again. And it's like, okay, and it pushes you to want to be better because it's like, okay, I have a specific thing we're going for. Yeah. And now, like, I've just been getting into, like, recording my own vocals and stuff like that. And now, because of that habit, I'll record the same line over a bunch of times until I feel like it's right. Yeah, you know what I mean? But adding little positive habits, especially, like, to young artists, like, with being in, like, the scene and bands and stuff like that, you see just artists, like, pop up left and right. Like, it never stops. You know what I mean? Like, especially, like, you, like, come from, like, Fort Worth too, but that whole DFW area has had so many, like, new, like, music and artists, like, flow through it, and it's so much, like, good. Than so, like,
much talent.
You just want to, like, cultivate it and make sure it keeps going. You know what I mean? Like, course. Instead of standing in the way of it.
No, yeah, of course. And props to you, bro. You and DJ and what y'all are doing, like. Bro, y'all have all my respects because, y'all, I see that y'all see that. You know what I mean? Y'all are really helping the scene, move forward. And because there's so much talent in Fort Worth. And that's where I'm born and raised. And that's where, I got all of my experience right now so far in my career is out of the DFW scene. And the talent there is just, just crazy. You know what I mean? And I've lived down here by Austin, close to Austin. So I've been trying to, like, get my foot in the game. But even from what I've seen, so far, Fort Worth is just on a different level. Like, just talent-wise and musically and what's going on and what people are doing there. It's, I don't think they understand. Oh, sorry. I don't think they understand what they have yet. You know what I mean? But it's elevating, little by little. I've seen it.
It's just going to keep blowing up based on what we've been looking at. It's just like that whole area, you know what I mean? Like, we've done stuff like in Fort Worth, Dallas, Denton, and in between. And, like, I'm still discovering new artists, like, every day. You know what I mean? If I, like, dedicated myself to looking at new artists, like, I can't catch up. That's why, like, with this podcast, I thought about it. And I'm like, you know what? One thing's for sure, I will never run out of people to talk to. You know what I mean? It's impossible because by the time, like, I get through some, like, a bunch of new artists have popped up and are doing well. You know what I mean? It's just really cool to see that, even at the moment that I'm not playing music, I'm just like, dude, there's so many like bands that like still remember like what we did, and like me, I still remember the bands that came before me that inspired me to like. I remember like the first local shows that I used to go to, and we're like, dude, people can do this like on their own kind of thing, and just like if they want to play music, you can do it, and that's the beauty of it. Yeah. Especially like these days, that's one thing is like if you want to learn how to do something, it's very like possible for you to do.
All the resources in the palm of your hand.
Bro, YouTube, like YouTube is literally learning how to do anything on there. Being able to create your own content, being able to make your own. Like you were talking about, you were just telling me that like, other than like 2 music videos, you filmed like all the other videos like of yourself.
Yeah, it's like how many? I don't want to lie. I don't know. It's like probably 12 videes or something.
See, that's insane. But like, you have the ability to like learn another skill to push what you love doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And because you were telling me you've done that, the video stuff. Like you even have tried some of the recording stuff that now like your brother helps you kind of with. Right. But it's definitely an environment for musicians these days where like if you want to learn how to push your stuff, like you can figure it out or find people to
definitely. Yeah, I mean, as far as the goal is just being self-sufficient, as self-sufficient as I could be. Because, studios are expensive. Cinematographers are expensive. Everything's expensive. You know what I mean? So I was just like trying to. The purpose was just, in the beginning, how could I cut these expenses?
I gotta save money, dude. Yeah,
that's the goal. And then when that happens, you get creative with it. So, luckily I was able to. It took in the beginning. I was like 19 when I first started building my studio. But now I have like I have a routine. I have my equipment that I'm proud of, that I use. I record my own vocals. And, with YouTube, you learn how to record the best, like good quality, the best quality you could possibly get out of a living room or out of a closet. Like most of especially the last 3 songs we're in apartments recording this stuff. Like it's just me in a closet, recording my vocals and then, but I do send them off to like a sound engineer that mixes them, masters them. And so, yeah, I got my own little routine going. And videos, if I feel like I could do it or the vision, is something I could do and with the skills. And then, YouTube, I subscribe to a bunch of like cinematography pages and channels that I've just like studied and watched countless videos on. And literally all I know comes from YouTube.
Yeah.
Like recording, and then from people you meet, like talented people that are in that respective area. You just, you get little tips and then you just implement them in what you do. And that's how you move forward. You know what I mean? And then if you have the means to, outsource, pay a videographer, then of course it's going to be, on a different level, and you got to respect them, because that's what they do. So yeah, you just got to learn how to do it all.
Learning enough to get by, and then also on the way creating your own network of like trusted people of like, if I'm going to a music video, I know I can count on this person. Because because I've only done 1 music video and I was totally like in the dark about how this worked. Yeah. The guy was just like, honestly, the guy, like he's out of Austin. Great cinematographer, great guy. I think he was just in the need of money. So he managed to fall into our budget. Yeah. And we're all like, okay, like cool. And he was like, yeah, I'll do 2 days for you guys. I was like, I want to do a story, but like I didn't know. I was like, okay, maybe I should draw up a storyboard so that he can have the idea of what we're doing. I should have my locations mapped out. Right. Everything was improvised that day. He was just happened to be so nice about it. But honestly, like nobody else would have worked like that. And I look at him like, and I looked at the appreciation versus like the end product that he gave us, and I'm like, dude, like I appreciate him so much, but like that's so much like hard work. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely take it for granted. And it's super important to create your network of people that you trust, along with like if I can figure out how to do something on my own, I'll do it. I had a friend of mine, his name is Zaylen. He plays in a band called Dispositions, but he did cinematography and stuff like that. And I think a while back he did like a live video for us. And I was buying a camera because I had wanted to start a vlog channel. And I asked him, and I was like, hey, like, he's like, what camera do you use? Like, should I get that one? Like, what should I get? This and that. And he just told me, he's like, you know what? Like, I'm going to give you the best advice. And he was like, you need to look it up on your own. And I was like, this dude's a dickhead, dude. He doesn't want to help me. And I told him the story. Yeah. But what it did is like, I got on the internet and looked up all these different facts and cameras and like YouTube videos and watched a whole bunch of stuff where I learned like the camera that I have, I learned backwards and forwards. I was like, this is what I want, what I need at my skill level. Like, this is what I need. It can grow with me, blah, blah, blah. And like, everything I learned after that, how to edit this podcast, how to edit video, how to do the audio, how to, figure out like how the camera gets placed, lighting and stuff like that, which now like I work with Bert, so Bert like he's teaching me more like tips and stuff. Shout out Bert, he's behind over there, the camera.
It's amazing.
And just being open to like, you know what, like, I have to do some of this learning on my own. Yes, they'll get to a point where I'm like, I'm stuck. And then I can go to him and be like, hey, I'm having this issue. I go, can you help me with this? Like, I've looked up my resources and I can't figure it out. And he's like, and at that point, people are willing to help because you're trying to help yourself. Right. But if you're just trying to get somebody else to basically do it for you, which I've had that. So now like that people like have seen like the podcast and stuff. I had people be like, I want to do my own podcast. What's everything that I need? Yeah. And I'm like, okay,
doesn't work like that.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, and it depends if I'm really willing to have the time, which like with everything that I'm doing is just I don't have the time to like kind of like sit down and be like, well, it depends on what you're doing. Like, what are you doing? And I'm not an expert by any means. I looked up experts to like help me out and figure it out. But if you come up to me and tell me what you need, like I'm not gonna know. Like I know what I need to do this. Like at the moment, you know what I mean?
I'm the same way. And the way I always viewed it was it was just. I mean, when I first started, like when I first bought the camera, when I first bought Premiere Pro and using, excuse me, and then, first bought Pro Tools, all that, like I loved it. You know what I mean? I loved it so much. Like, the butterflies, I'd feel the butterflies in my stomach. Why? Because I loved everything about, just the game, like music, the music videos, the sound engineers, even this now, like podcast, the content. I'm learning to love the content making and the, all that comes. I love music, creating music and everything that comes with it. I don't want to sound corny or anything, but like I get it from like, I remember hearing an interview of Mike Tyson and they asked him like, man, how could you put your body through so much? Like, you get up like at 3-4 in the morning to go for like these insane runs and hikes and these insane workouts. And like, don't you ever get tired? And his response was, no, because I love boxing. I love boxing, which, most people in their mind, they think of the belt and their arms up, at the end of a fight. But he's thinking of everything that comes with it. I mean, he loves the waking up early, the running, the sweating, the feeling like your body's falling apart, the muscle building, everything that he said. I love everything that comes with it, even the ugly parts. And that really changed my perspective because at first, I was like, man, I don't give a fuck about this like camera or like this music. Like, that's not what I do. I do music. I play guitar. I don't care about this stuff. So then, you start kind of half-assing it. You start, with that mentality, you're not going to go anywhere. Yeah. When I heard that, I started thinking of, I do love it, and you start creating things and you start being passionate about it. And then the product, you start becoming proud of it. And then you kind of get addicted to it. You're like, man, I love creating. I love music. And I love everything that comes with it. Like the music videos, like this, like the podcast, the shows, the sound checks. I love the sound checks. I love meeting people. I love the merch, designing the merch. I love feeling the shirts. I love setting up the merch table. I love everything, bro. I love everything that comes with it. So that's just part of the game, it comes with the territory.
Yeah, and it's something you get to do. You know what I mean? Like when you realize that, it's like I don't have to do anything. Like, but I get to do all this stuff, and then music is just like special as hell, dude, because of all that comes with it. Every part of it, you know what I mean? Like you were just saying, all of those things you just mentioned, meeting people, showing up to shows, people learning that songs you wrote mean something to people that you have no idea who they are, stuff like that. Being able to connect with people, just the ability to do all these things is something you need to appreciate, once you're doing it. It's not the end goal. It's not getting famous or money or all this stuff. It's like, it's enjoying it, because like you see these people who are like have these like giant careers and like looks like they have it all, and they're miserable because that's not what they wanted. You know what I mean? Like they wanted something different, or they got there playing music that they didn't want to play, or whatever it may be. It's like you got to take the time to really appreciate like what you're doing and where you're going and what you're doing it for. And if you enjoy it every step of the way, it's just going to make that easier. Because you were talking about, like, I think with both of us, we had in common that, like, content creating, stuff like that was something where we're like, fuck it. I don't like, that's like, I don't want to worry about that.
Right.
And it's still something where I think about, like, man, I kind of don't want to worry about it. Like, I just want to do it. But what I've realized, even like with like making NoiseROT and promoting shows, is like, oh, that content like helps out bring more people, which means I get to make more like really cool events, and more people come in and they have fun. You know what I mean? Which is like when I like start hearing that and people just like seeing that show, like I was just like, damn, dude, this is dope. You know what I mean? Like, I got to be like a small part of like creating like this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, that's cool. I was like, that's cool. When I was playing music, same thing. I had, people coming up and saying like, oh, I heard this song. People that I didn't know. I'm like, that's really freaking special. Having to load stuff up and out, you know what I mean? This, you know what I mean? Having, we came out here and drove out here. I'm like, I'll do it again. You know what I mean? Because I enjoy, like, you have to enjoy like what you're doing. And see the passion in it, because like that's the only way you get stuff done that you love.
And I think as artists or creatives, like, I mean, you have to find the balance, and I think that's where everyone struggles with. It's the, I am goal oriented. You know what I mean? Like I do want to do music for a living. I want to be able to quit my day job and do it for a living. Like, that is the goal. Like, that's what I want. That's what I aspire to become, like, just a full-time musician, full-time artist. So with if that's the goal, you have to play the game that comes with it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you have to balance that with, if nobody was listening, like, I would still be doing this. Yeah. And if nobody was watching, I would still perform that way. Yes. You know what I mean? Like that, and it's a, it's a duality thing. It's like both exist. You know what I mean? Like, I am goal driven. I do want to reach, I guess, a certain level of, what I consider success, being successful, and it is quitting my day job. But at the same time, I don't give a fuck who's listening. Like, I love to do this. Like, if no one was listening, if nobody was watching, I would still be doing this. Yeah. So it's just finding that balance between the two.
Like, even if it's kind of weird, but it's, I think someone asked me once, it's like, how do you know, like, what you're passionate about and like what you actually like enjoy doing? And I'm like, it's got to be the thing that nobody tells you what to do, like, to do it. Like, nobody tells you to do it. You don't have to do it, and you spend countless of like hours and days doing, and to make something that you enjoy, like, and then you put it out and stuff like that. Because I realized that with like music. I realized that with like when I started that vlog, I'm like, I'm spending like 3 to 4 hours editing like a 5-minute vlog that I put out once a week. I don't get paid for this. Like, I don't like going out and filming stuff and stuff like, because I was like trying to go out and like create stuff. So I was like spending money on doing things and like bringing my friends along with me to like do it with me. And I'm like, I'm losing money on this. Like, but I'm having the time of my life, what I mean? Which now led into like, oh, I gained skills to create now, like, this, like, for example, like this podcast, like now I've created something that like actually like kind of combines those two things. Now I find something I enjoy, and also like I feel like I'm actually like giving something back in the thing, and I'm happy like doing it. Right. So it's really tough for people sometimes to settle down on what it is. I've talked to a lot of people where I'm like, I want to do this so that, I can, make a hit. I've even talked to people who's like, I'm trying to go viral on TikTok and this and that. I'm like, that's a goal, but it's like, it can't be your only one. You know what I mean? It can't be just to hit like this certain marker.
It's not, it's because, I mean, if you have that mentality, if you're looking at, even small, even at a small scale, you know what I mean? Like, we're nobody, I'm nobody big and famous. I'm nobody, I'm like, the numbers aren't popping like crazy or nothing. But if I focus on the likes and the views and if I focus on that, if that's the reason I was doing it, or if that was my source of motivation and drive, I would have gave up a long time ago, what I mean? Because especially when you create something you love and you're always like, bro, this is a hit, or this is, this is about to go crazy. You post it and then boom, 130, views on YouTube or something. You're just like, what? Because in your mind, in that moment, you're filled up with, this, you're just so hyped about it that you feel like a millionaire. You feel like, you feel like it competes with the best, and then you're humbled when you put it out. But so if you're focused on that, I mean, you're just gonna be, you'll be miserable your whole life. You're gonna be miserable,
or quit,
or you're gonna burn out. You know what I mean? So, and the key and the goal, and it's crazy how it works. That the goal is focusing on the art. You know what I mean? If you're creative, what's the best art I can make, put it out. What's the next thing I can make? Put it out. What's the next thing I can make? And just as you elevate in that way, when you're really thinking about that, that's when you start elevating. And then that's when people, start catching on.
Yeah.
And the ones that do, they'll get it. And if they don't, they don't. And I think that's really just the mindset to have.
Yeah.
Or you're going to go crazy, thinking about the likes and all that stuff.
Because I also think, like, people who think, like, people, like, overnight, like, blowing up overnight, like, that's not true. Like, all these people that feel like they've blown up overnight, like, have been doing it, like, for, like, years and stuff like that. And you just never saw that because they were in their local scene, It took them forever to pop out, And a lot of people, it's not only like hard work, it's you got to catch the right break, like you got to meet the right person, like it's all these things that happen in sequential, like in a certain order that gets you to where you're going. But if you're solely focused on, like, especially like whatever level you may be, and you put something out and like, damn, nobody liked it, like that's whatever people got to see it, you know what I mean? Like you start seeing like these people who's like super old songs like blow up and then they're famous now, but that song is like 3 years old, and they're like, oh, people just got to it, you know what I mean, or just found it or whatever. And you kind of just have to continue creating, because again, like, I don't know if I can see it a lot easier, but like people who are authentic, man, people who I can tell are like, writing music because it's real, or creating, videos or content or anything that I'm like, okay, you're being yourself, like, and you're being as original as you can to who you are. I go, I don't know, I can just like smell that out now, and I enjoy those things where I'm like, oh, like this is cool, they're putting their whole, and then like lately with music, I'm just like, music will always progress. Like you look at like people who thought, I always compare like the people who thought like rock and roll was crazy to like what music is now. I'm like, music will always progress, and there might be sometimes when you get to a song that I'm like, I don't understand this. You know what I mean? Like I don't get the appeal of stuff. And it happens, but it's because you didn't grow up in this era, so whatever. But you want to be as true as you can to yourself. You know what I mean? That's the only way it works. That's the only way it works at all. But yeah, man, TikTok is a whole beast, man.
Yeah, as far as the authenticity, like, I mean, I think that's what everyone looks for. You know what I mean? If they don't or not, like, because I mean. Well, as far as music, like when I look at other artists, like I'm really just, I guess when I'm critiquing or if I'm looking at an artist, I'm looking at how authentic they are or how unique they're, like, because if you're authentic, you're going to be unique. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because nobody's the same. So if you're true to yourself, like it's going to translate, in your music and in your energy. So, because a lot of artists, where they mess up on is, they're trying to sound like something else. You know what I mean? And when you try to sound like another, I even hear bars that get, or lyrics that get repeated, or words or slang that gets repeated just because it's in right now, or even melodies, even flows and melodies, like it's too many that sound the same. Like I could hear the beat and I could already tell you what you're gonna sound like in the flow you're gonna use and the melody you're gonna use on it. And it's I'm really looking, when I'm looking at an artist or hearing them, like I'm trying to listen to, or is this them, or are they trying to sound like somebody else?
And sometimes, so I've always had, I'm gonna call it a bad habit, but I've always had that bad habit of like hearing a melody and be like, wait, that's from, and then I like try to like find whatever song it was from. So I've like, there's different versions of like that argument in myself. One is like, oh, they straight up just copied that because they're being lazy, and then the other one is like, oh, they probably grew up listening to this and like somehow like incorporated into like their stuff, or it's like a nod to that artist or whatever. Right. Because at the end of the day, like our music taste and creation style is based on everything we've listened to and incorporated into our lives. Facts. So like you start like, you'll hear it and I'll hear stuff like later on that I've written and I'm like, where did I get that from? Or like, where did this like idea come from? And then I'll like pinpoint like 3 artists or 3 different songs, and I'm like, oh, like it was this, and then I created my own version of it. So at the end of the day, like, yes, we are repeating like influences, but because everyone grows up listening to different stuff, a variety at different times of their lives, you should still have a unique take on everything. Right.
No, and that's true. That is because I catch myself doing that as well. Yeah. Like I'll hear old stuff and I'll be like, oh, dang, that's where I got that from, or my old music, even music now. I'm like, You know, like it's obvious, but it's also obvious when you're trying to sound exactly like a certain artist. You know what I mean? Or everyone's, you know, especially when Lil Baby popped off and all that, Lil Durk and all them. Like, we already got a Lil Baby, we already got a Lil Durk. Like, be yourself. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? You know, to contribute to the game or the music as a whole.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's a little bit, like, I don't care about the numbers or I'm not looking at numbers or anything like that. I'm looking at just the art. What art are you making? That's gonna impact.
And I feel like you see it even in big artists, like okay, for example, like people you're talking about, like, you know, Drake, J. Cole, like their early stuff, like depending on what it is, some of it is like you can pinpoint a little easier influences than you can on their later stuff. You know what I mean? Like early on, you see like, oh, okay, I see how they're trying to fit into like this stuff. Especially for some reason, like I followed Drake's career early, like early on. Like I don't know like where I started like listening to this stuff, but it was like stuff before like So Far Gone, like all those mixtapes, like Comeback Season and like a bunch of like the other stuff, where you could see a little bit where he was coming from to like now where now it's like a lot of like the shit he's on and
that's
stuff.
That's probably what just everyone does too. I mean, that's probably what everyone is when you're just starting off. I mean, you probably are just trying to sound like somebody else until you find your own, what works, what doesn't. So I mean, that's probably what it is also too, like so a little bit of that. You
got to have a little leniency, and it's a thing I've learned as time has gone, because at first I'm used to being just critical and being like, oh no, they're just trying to do this. And at the same time, when I think about when I started writing music and I'm like, I didn't know how to write a song, so the easiest way for me to write a song was like, I can just try to write it like this song was written or this artist, and finding your own way of doing things you also have to kind of have like that bravery and courage to try to take something on in an idea you have, which is scary because it's not something that's been tried and, you know, works that you've seen work. And I'm like, well, if I do this way, I've seen it work with this other person. Like if I try it my own way, like it might not, you know what I mean? You might not get that immediate positive response, but you end up learning a lot more about yourself and like how your voice works, how like you know, what words you use, what kind of stories are easier for you to tell, you know? It was something that was as simple as this. When I was writing music early on in like a band, I wrote, I think, the first 3 songs out of experiences that were made up that I was like trying to like write about. The song sucked. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like they were like, for mine, I was like, they don't make any sense because it was writing about something that wasn't real. And then I was like, what if I just write about like actual stuff that's happened to me? And it's just like, it's again being courageous and brave enough to be like, okay, someone might relate and care about it this way or this story, and then you learn what works, what doesn't, you know.
No, it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the process. Just gotta trust it, I guess. You know what I mean? You just gotta see what works, see what doesn't. Everyone's, you know, I mean, I know that for a fact. Like with me, when I first started writing music, I was writing, you know, this, or I was trying to sound like this or make songs like this, and then, you know, that's not really, you start finding where you're thriving, and you know, oh, I feel different when I'm, you know, have this melody, or if I'm doing, you know, if I'm on this BPM or something, like you start finding, you know, what you know, where your space is, I guess, where you thrive in. So it's just trial and error and discovering like how to write, and it's all an experience. And again, it's all part of the experience that you should love. You should love failing. You should love not writing the right thing. You should love like when you do write the right thing. Like every bit of that process needs to be something you enjoy and want to keep like doing and enduring, because it's not this overnight thing. It's not this thing you can half-ass and do. Like you have to have your whole heart in it. And once you don't, you'll realize it, and then it's not. You might as well give up on it if you're not willing to put in your entire heart. Yeah, that's true.
But facts. I feel like with you, like I don't know, I just like feel that energy. Like all the like songs that I've listened to.
Thank you, bro.
You can definitely see that authenticity. You can see that it's coming from like a real place. Like I said, it's not all the same like, you know, genre or type of music or this and that, but it's all a real emotion, a real experience at this given time, and you can kind of tell that. And then you're in live experience, you can tell you love it, man, and being up there.
Bro.
So I definitely know people should definitely look up all of Xavier Seconds, like music, live shows they have. I know you're doing Chill Sounds this year.
Oh, yeah.
Which so he'll be back in Fort Worth the 15th for that. And do you have anything else coming up?
October 15th? No, just that right now. Yeah, that's, in concrete. We're still trying to figure some stuff out. But yeah, set in stone, October 15th. I will be back in Fort Worth. Come check it out.
Heck yeah, come check it out. Thank you again for letting us in your home, man. I appreciate you. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you up there, right? So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. And then we'll catch you guys next time.